Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are diving into something we all use literally every single day, but probably don't think about nearly enough: the hidden architecture of the English language. We're totally stepping away from the dry textbook stuff today to put your own instincts to the test. So get ready to engage your brain, because you aren't just watching this one, you're actively participating.
So, do you have what it takes to ace these advanced grammar scenarios? Honestly, I think you do. We're going to treat this explainer like your own personal mental gym. We'll be testing your instincts on verb tenses, tricky modal verbs, conditional logic, and subject-verb agreement. All right, let's get started.
Okay, let's jump right into our first puzzle. This one is all about verb tenses. The boys, blank, to my lecture since 8 o'clock this morning. I'll give you a quick second to lock in your guess. What exact phrase fills that gap perfectly?
Okay, if you went with have been listening, you absolutely nailed it. The full sentence is, the boys have been listening to my lecture since 8 o'clock this morning. Now, the massive clue here is that phrase, since 8 o'clock. That specific time marker is what triggers this exact verb structure, because it tells us the action hasn't actually finished yet.
This right here is what we call the present perfect continuous tense. Basically, it's used to show that an action fired up in the past and is kept right on going, completely uninterrupted, up to this very second. The lecture started at 8, and yep, the listening is still happening right now. It's like a bridge connecting the past directly to the present. Mastering this tense is actually super crucial for real-world communication, like giving a quick status update at work or letting someone know exactly how long you've been waiting for them. It clearly says this is ongoing.
All right, so we've bridged the past to the present. Now let's look at another tense challenge. They met you at night after you blank your work. Okay, we've got a sequence of two past events here. Think about your timeline for a second. Which event actually happened first, and what verb tense do we use to show that order? The answer we're looking for is had finished. So it reads, they met you at night after you had finished your work. We have to use this specific tense because we really need to emphasize that finishing the work absolutely 100% had to happen before that meeting even took place. You can kind of think of grammar as a built-in time machine. See, when one action happens before another action in the past perfect tense is what we use to map out the oldest event. So action 1, finishing work, that's the earliest action, so it gets the past perfect. Then action 2, the meeting, that just takes a simple past, since it's the more recent event. This is literally the best tool to use when you're telling a story and you want to make sure your listener knows exactly how things went down. No confusion, just precise timelines. Okay, let's inject a little drama into our next micro-story as we shift gears over to modal verbs. Picture someone making this incredibly intense statement. I, blank, rather die than join the gang of terrorists. What single word do you think drops into that blank to convey that kind of strong, zero-compromise preference? It's would. I would rather die than join the gang of terrorists. The word would is just the absolute perfect modal when you need to lay down a definitive, unshakable choice. Actually, here's a quick pro tip for everyday conversation. Whenever you're expressing a preference and you use the word rather, would is pretty much always going to be its partner. They're a total package deal. I would rather stay home. I would rather eat pizza. You get the idea. All right, let's look at a scenario that's all about past ability. The swimmer was tired, but he, blank, reached the shore before he collapsed. Man, you really got a feel for the swimmer in this one. So what modal verb fills the blank to show he actually managed to pull off this massive feat? And the answer is could. The swimmer was tired, but he could reach the shore before he collapsed. That word could perfectly nails the fact that he successfully reached safety in the past. It tells us that even though he was totally exhausted, the internal capacity to get it done was still there. We actually use this subtle distinction all the time when we're recounting, say, a really narrow escape or a tough achievement. Moving right along, we've got a reported speech puzzle, and this one involves permission. He said I, blank, use his car whenever I wanted. Think about it. If a friend gives you permission right now, in the present, how do you accurately report that permission to someone else later on in the past tense?
This is such a brilliant example of the mechanical shift that happens in reported speech. The direct quote happening right in the moment is, "You can use my car." But when we report that exact same speech later, there's this unbreakable rule that says the word can automatically takes a step back in time and becomes could, so it turns into, he said I could use his car. It's a super logical, systematic rule that makes sure your timelines stay completely straight when you're passing information along.
Let's actually stick with modal verbs for just one more challenge. My class teacher told me that I blank work hard. Picture a teacher giving some really firm, direct advice. What modal verb correctly captures that strong sense of duty or recommendation?
Yep, the answer is should. My class teacher told me that I should work hard. It is the absolute perfect fit for conveying advice and obligation. It's definitely stronger than a light suggestion, but, it's not quite a rigid military command. When you use should at work or at home, you're implying there's a best course of action that carries a bit of moral or practical weight to it.
Okay, let's see how all this builds into conditional sentences. We've got a tricky sports what-if scenario here. If we blank one more batsman in our team, we would have won the match. So we're essentially imagining a totally different past than the one that actually played out. How do we construct that? Lock it in. Okay, if you guessed the double had, you are absolutely spot on. You just successfully applied what is basically a mathematical formula for past conditional structures. See, the if clause always requires had plus a past participle. And since the past participle of have is had, you end up with the very funny sounding but grammatically flawless if we had. Then the result clause perfectly follows up with would have won. I know, saying had out loud feels super awkward, but it's literally the exact linguistic tool you need to express regret or analyze past mistakes. All right, time to lock in our subject-verb agreement. Let's see if you can navigate this absolute classic grammar trap. Chris, in addition to his brother Zach, blank hockey on Saturday. Is that missing verb supposed to be singular or plural? I'll let you think on it for a second. The correct answer here is plays. Let's actually break down the logic to see exactly why that is. Step 1, we identify the true subject. That's Chris, singular. Step 2, and this is the crucial part, we isolate the distractor phrase. Those words stuck between the commas, in addition to his brother Zach, they are literally just extra noise designed to trick your brain. By completely ignoring that distractor, we can easily match our singular subject, Chris, with the singular verb, plays. Honestly, native speakers mess this up all the time, especially when speaking quickly. But spotting those distractors is a total game changer for keeping your language sharp and professional. So we have one last agreement puzzle, but this time we're focusing on what happens immediately after a modal verb. Neither you nor your sister should blank to them. Think about the verb to talk. How does it change? Or does it even change at all when it's sitting right next to that modal should?
The answer is just the base verb, talk. Neither you nor your sister should talk to them. It completely doesn't matter if the subject is singular, plural, or part of some complicated neither-nor pairing. The unbreakable rule is that after a modal like should, you always use the base form of the verb. No s, no ed, no ing, just the pure base verb. It's actually kind of freeing, right? Once you drop a modal in there, you can completely forget about conjugating whatever comes next.
All right, we've reached our final boss-level error correction challenge. You'll actually hear mistakes like this fairly often. A little political thinkers think that liberty and equality can't go together. Now, that is definitely grammatically incorrect. It should be a few political thinkers. But why? Well, because the word thinkers is a countable plural noun. You can literally count them, one thinker, two thinkers. And when you're dealing with countable plurals, a few is the absolute only correct option. We have to save a little strictly for uncountable stuff, like water or money or time. Nailing that difference will instantly elevate how articulate you sound.
And that officially wraps up our grammar challenge. Definitely keep practicing. Grammar really isn't just about memorizing some arbitrary rules for a test. It's literally the operating system of our communication. It lets us convey exact timelines, subtle possibilities, and precise conditions. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. If precise language truly shapes our reality and dictates how other people understand us, what other hidden rules are silently directing your everyday conversations? Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.